The noble Snow Leopard clan, renowned for their mastery over freezing abilities, is home to the esteemed Nizam family. Among them, the eldest daughter, Lena, possesses extraordinary talents, her immense power and skill making her the ideal heir. The clan holds high expectations for her to lead the family, considering her the perfect successor, if only she had not fallen in love with Karis, the heir of the Aran family, a clan that has been at odds with the Nizams for thousands of years. Despite her family's fierce opposition, Lena chooses to follow her heart and be with Karis. However, this decision comes at a devastating cost. She loses her life while giving birth to their child. Later, Aid approaches Zender Nizin, the patriarch of the Nizin family, with Lena's child, a frail hybrid, born with great difficulty, and seemingly incapable of manifesting any abilities. Years pass, and when the child turns 7, it becomes evident that powers typically emerge within the first few years of life. Zender, bitter and ashamed, declares that she will never develop abilities, branding her a worthless insect. Enraged and humiliated, he confines his granddaughter to the attic, deeming her the disgrace of the family. From that moment on, the abuse and neglect she endures from Zender and the rest of the household become relentless, making survival nearly impossible. Despite her frail body and the merciless conditions, the young girl clings to life. One day, in desperation, Phil steals a piece of discarded bread. When Zender catches her, he is furious, striking her with the stale loaf and calling her a filthy insect. Phil apologizes, explaining that she was simply hungry, but her words only further enrage him. Incensed by her defiance, he seizes her and drags her to the terrace with a sneer. He claims that her life has been far too comfortable, making her forget her place. Without hesitation, he forces her onto the railing and slams the door shut, locking her outside in the heavy snowfall. Shivering and desperate, Thiel pounds on the door, pleading with her grandfather to let her in. She apologizes repeatedly, but her cries go unanswered. Suddenly, a young woman enters the room, her sharp gaze fixed on Thea as she scoffs at the pitiful sight before her. It is Cornelia, the current heir of the Nizan family. Desperate, Thiel calls out to her aunt, but Cornelia's expression remains cold. She scolds the girl, questioning how she dares address her as aunt, as if she still holds any rightful place in the family. Thiel falls silent, stunned by the cruelty. Turning to Zender, Cornelia reminds him that he was supposed to accompany her daughter, Lone, to her dress fitting, adding that she has been waiting eagerly. Zender dismisses her concerns, blaming the delay on that damned hybrid, but assuring her that he will leave soon. He then instructs Cornelia to inform Lone. At that moment, Lone bursts into the room. The daughter of Cornelia and cousin Dathiel, she runs to her grandfather, playfully complaining that since he had not come to her, she had no choice but to escort him herself. Zender immediately turns his attention to her, lifting her up and praising her as a good child, promising that they will leave right away. Watching this unfold feels heartaches. She hesitates before calling out to Cornelia again, quickly correcting herself and addressing her as Lady Cornelia in a desperate attempt to show respect. Begging for help, she explains that it is unbearably cold outside. Cornelia merely scoffs at her plea, laughing at the absurdity of a snow leopard feeling cold. Narrowing her eyes in disdain, she sneers, suggesting that perhaps it is because Thiel is a hybrid, a mix of a snow leopard and a black leopard. Her disgust evident, Cornelia slams the door shut, remarking that Phil reminds her too much of Lena, which only deepens her hatred. Left alone in the freezing cold, Phil collapses onto the icy floor, curling up as her body trembles. Memories of her family's cruelty flood her mind, and she wonders if things would have been different had her mother been alive. Is there a place where she truly belongs? A place where she could feel warmth, love, and the embrace of a family? She longs for it, even if only for a moment. Suddenly, something jolts her awake. Confused, she finds herself back in the attic. Bewildered, Phil glances around, trying to make sense of how she ended up here when just moments ago, she had been outside on the balcony. A sharp pain courses through her body, confirming a fresh wound, proof that it had not been a dream. Gazing into a nearby mirror, she notices a scar on her forehead, one that she had received a month ago when Lone had pushed her down the stairs. Yet, to her, it feels as if it had just happened. Puzzled, Phil wonders if she has somehow returned to the past. But how? Just then a golden flash emanates from her hands, startling her. She stares at them in shock before dismissing the glow as a hallucination. Now is not the time to dwell on such things. If she truly has been given a second chance, she must act swiftly. She must escape before Zender has the chance to torment her again. The harsh reality begins to sink and Thiel has nowhere to go. Wandering outside in the freezing cold would only lead to death. Desperately, she wishes for someone to help her. As she stares at her reflection in the mirror, her eyes whiten in shock. Golden eyes. The mark of the Black Leopard clan, the Asterian family. The realization strikes her like lightning. If she goes to her father's clan, perhaps they might accept her. Suddenly, voices from outside catch her attention, the noise unusually loud. She hears someone instructing to prepare a guest room while another voice inquires about the banquet's needs. Then, it clicks. This is the same time Lone was selected as a candidate for crown princess. To be precise, all girls of appropriate age from noble families were being considered, and as a result, the emperor had sent one of his direct subordinates to observe Lone. The Nizam family had been busy preparing for the palace guests' arrival. Thiel sees this as the perfect opportunity. With everyone focused on welcoming the royal guests, no one will be paying attention to the attic. Even her grandfather and the maids will be preoccupied. If she times it right, she can escape to Aaron. Fortunately, she still has some leftover bread, which she quickly hides in her clothing, determined to take it with her. Just then, a small mouse scurries near her, eyeing the bread. Panicking, she yells, clutching it tightly and exclaiming that she needs it more. As she stumbles backward, something unexpected happens. She transforms into a small cat, startling the mouse and causing it to flee. Wrapping herself tightly in a blanket, she takes a deep breath, knowing she must endure her current situation until the guests arrive. However, a nagging worry creeps into her mind. What if her grandfather was right? What if her father truly despises her? She recalls Zender's cruel words, warning that if the head of the Black Leopard clan ever saw her, they would kill her without hesitation. That family, he claimed, loathed her existence. Thea wonders if there is any truth to this. She thinks of her mother's tragic fate, and how as a hybrid, she belongs nowhere, neither fully one nor the other. If the Yaren family rejects her, then she truly has no place in this world. Hiding her face in her hands, she contemplates whether promising to stay out of sight would make them accept her. She resolves to eat as little as possible, to live as if she doesn't exist. She tells herself she can survive on just a piece of bread every 2 days. The weight of her suffering and the endless excuses given by those who wronged her crush her spirit. 2 days later, Thiel finally gathers the courage to open the attic door. The mansion is silent, everyone is fast asleep, exhausted from the day's efforts in receiving the palace guests. Knowing they won't wake easily, she seizes the moment. Her first destination is her grandfather's office. She needs something valuable to pay a coachman to take her to the Aaron family. Upon reaching the office, she finds, as expected, that the door is unlocked. Since Lone frequently visits, Zender never bothers securing it. Carefully, Phil opens a drawer and finds several coins, more than enough for her carriage fare. Just as she is about to close it, her eyes fall upon a necklace. Picking it up, she opens the locket to reveal a small portrait inside her mother's face. The same locket Zender often gazes at. A deep sadness washes over her. If she never plans to return, then she wants to take something to remember her mother by. Slipping the necklace into her pocket, she turns to leave, relieved that no one has noticed her movements. Just then a voice calls out, "Miss Lone?" Jera, Lone's nanny, mistakes her for Lone and scolds her for wandering around so late at night. As Jera approaches, she realizes the truth. It is not Lone but Thiel. Her expression darkens as she yells, demanding to know why Thiel is here and ordering her back to her room. Panic surges through Thiel, and without thinking, she bolts. Jera's shots echo through the corridors, but feel as fast, surprisingly fast for someone so small. She races down the halls, her heart pounding as she searches for an escape route. But others have noticed the commotion. Servants and butlers join the chase, and Theo realizes she has nowhere left to run. Desperate, she dashes into the annex where the palace guests are staying. The household staff hesitate, making a scene in front of the royal guests could have severe consequences. Instead of pursuing her, they decide to alert the head of the family. Meanwhile, Thiel rushes through the unfamiliar annex, her breath coming in short gasps. She has no idea where to go, and every door she tries is locked. Fear grips her as she whispers desperate pleas for help, but no one answers. Just as hopelessness begins to set in, a shadowy figure steps out behind her. Before she can react, a hand grabs her arm, causing her to stumble and fall. Looking up, she finds a boy standing over her, his sharp eyes fixed on her. His expression hardens as he demands to know who she is to dare intrude into his quarters at this hour. Teal stammers, unable to form a response. Tears well up in her eyes as she sobs, pleading with him to save her. The boy studies her intently. There should only be one girl from the Nezan family, and yet, this girl before him has golden eyes instead of blue. Her shabby appearance confirms she is not lone. With a firm voice, he tells her to stop crying and demands an explanation. If she refuses, he warns, he will throw her out immediately. Reluctantly, Teal whispers her name, revealing that she is Teal Nezan, a snow leopard in desperate need of escape. Before the boy can respond, footsteps echo from the hall, growing closer. He glances toward the door, his expression calculating. Clearly, she is being chased. Without hesitation, he orders her to follow him, and asks if she can transform into her beast form. Inside his room, he quickly instructs her to hide under the bed. Theo scrambles underneath but carelessly leaves her tail sticking out. Irritated by her clumsiness, the boy sighs and tucks her tail in properly. Moments later, a man enters the room and bows slightly in apology. It is Cedric, the Emperor's aide. The boy raises an eyebrow, questioning why Cedric has come so late. Cedric explains that a maid has run away from the mansion. He claims she was not in her right mind, and though they had been taking care of her, she suddenly escaped. Several staff members spotted her running into the guest house. The boy remains calm as he processes the situation. A white-furred snow leopard, a clear mark of her identity, had been out in the open, yet they were attempting to pass her off as a mere servant. Without missing a beat, the boy nonchalantly states that he has never seen such a person. Casually taking a seat on his bed, he allows Cedric to conduct a search but firmly excludes his own quarters and Cedric's from the inspection. Understanding the unspoken command, Cedric bows again, promising to relay the order before wishing the boy a good night and departing. Once Cedric is gone, the boy leans back slightly, exhaling. His mission requires him to remain undercover, and he cannot afford unnecessary complications. Yet now, because of the Emperor's insistence that he personally verify the bright candidates, he finds himself entangled in this unexpected mess. Ian prompts Theo to come out from under the bed, and after a moment of hesitation, she cautiously emerges, still in her beast form. His gaze sharpens as he questions why she was running, and why the household staff referred to her as a servant. Phil studies him carefully, sensing that he holds a position of considerable status. She wonders if someone as remarkable as him would truly help her, but quickly dismisses the thought right now, it doesn't matter. Anyone willing to assist her will do. Shifting back into her human form, Gil explains that she has been locked away since birth, considered a disgrace by her grandfather. She was born without any special abilities, and her appearance is nothing extraordinary. Ian listens intently, piecing together the situation. He concludes that she used the chaos caused by the palace guests as an opportunity to escape. Teal admits this is true. He then asks what she plans to do once she leaves the mansion. Teal confidently states that she has some money, and intends to take a carriage to the Asterian family. Ian raises an eyebrow, confused. Why would she go there if she's a snow leopard? Theo clarifies that her father is a member of the Asterian family. Hearing this, Ian glances at her golden eyes once more, finally realizing why they seemed so familiar. Running a hand through his hair, he sighs, remarking that he understands what she's trying to do, but warns her that with so little money, she won't even make it out of Nezan territory. Teal's heart sinks. She had been certain her savings would be enough. Desperation creeping into her voice, she asks what she should do now. Without more money, her plan is doomed. To her astonishment, Ian offers to take her to Astorian himself. Teal stares at him in disbelief, questioning whether he's serious. Ian confirms his offer, prompting her to thank him repeatedly, promising to repay him as soon as she can. He sighs, assuring her that repayment is unnecessary, but Teal is convinced that he is her savior. Finally, she asks for his name, wondering how she should address him. With a calm expression, he introduces himself as Eandra Crash Ion, adding that she can call him Ian. Lost in thought about his name, Phil barely notices when Ian tells her to get some rest. He warns that if she doesn't wake up on time tomorrow, he won't take her with him. Startled, Phil hesitates before asking what would happen if someone saw her while she was sleeping. Ian reassures her that no one will enter his room. When she still appears unsure, he raises his hand, creating a rift in midair. Phil watches in awe as a strange white void opens before her, its presence both mesmerizing and unsettling. Ian explains that it's his special ability, a dimensional space that only he can open and close. He urges her to transform into her snow leopard form and enter. She hesitates. "What if you die?" she blurts out, a sudden fear gripping her. "I don't want to be stuck wandering in your dimension forever." "Do you even have Wi-Fi in there?" Ian chuckles but reassures her once more, as long as he is alive she won't get lost. Realizing she has no better option, he finally transforms and steps into the void. Inside, she marvels at her surroundings. The place looks completely ruined, almost like an alternate world. As she curiously reaches out to touch a stuffed toy, it vanishes upon contact, startling. Determined not to cause any damage, she resolves to move cautiously. Her eyes then land on a cushion that appears new, radiating an unexplainable aura. Carefully, she pokes it, relieved when it doesn't disappear. Excited, she climbs onto it. The cushion is incredibly soft, and for the first time in her life, she feels a warmth she has never known before. Curled up on the cushion, Gil thinks wistfully of her father. She wonders if he will be as kind and gentle as Ian. If he isn't, well, someone needs to personally ensure that he goes bald, shiny as a bowling ball. Meanwhile, the next morning, Zender apologizes to Cedric for the disturbance caused the previous night. Attempting to gauge Cedric's impression of the Nezan family, he inquires whether they were comfortable and if everything met their expectations. Cedric, however, nearly sets his teacup down with a sharp clink, his expression unreadable. He coldly responds that thanks to their hospitality, they were able to rest well and that the dinner was excellent. Notably, he makes no mention of Lone, not even a polite inquiry about her. Zender's worry deepens. He knows last night's chaos likely left a bad impression, and frustration simmers within him. Of all times, why did that wretched girl choose now to act out? She had been quiet as a mouse until this moment. Shamelessly, Zender attempts to salvage the situation by asking if they would like to meet Lone once more before their departure. Cedric places his cup down a little louder this time, his gaze turning even colder. "No," he replies bluntly. Rising from his seat, he states that they have a long journey ahead and must be on their way. Just as he turns to leave, he adds a final remark until they meet again. If Zender ever visits the capital, he will host him. Zender stands as well, opening his mouth to say something, but before he can, Lone suddenly enters the room, calling out to her grandfather. Annoyed, Zender tells her to wait outside, but Lone, oblivious to the tense atmosphere, asks if the guests are already leaving. Ignoring her question, Zender urgently inquires whether Cedric has given any indication that they will consider Lone as a potential candidate. Cedric's response is swift and cutting. "It was nice meeting you," he says, his tone formal. "May the blessing of Cran be with you." The rejection is unmistakable. Zender grits his teeth, understanding all too well what this means. They have no intention of considering Lone for the position. Unaware of the weight of Cedric's words, Lone presses on, eagerly asking if they will meet again, or when he will visit the mansion next. Zender, sensing the growing tension, tries to stop her, but Lone persists, declaring that she wants to see the capital too. Without hesitation, she boldly asks if she can accompany them. Ian, who has been watching in silence, now looks visibly irritated. The exchange is silent as Cedric, avoiding her questions, firmly states that they will leave now. Zender, seething with frustration, blames the failure of the important meeting, one that took months to prepare, on the half-breed's rampage, which ruined everything. He vows that once he captures Steel, he will not let her escape again. At the carriage, they offer blessings to the House of Nezin. Zender extends his well wishes, but Ian abruptly shuts the carriage door in his face, leaving Zender fuming over the servant's insolence. You old hag, does he truly look like a servant to you? Or is your eyesight just as poor as your judgment? Yen taunts. Cedric warns Yen to mind his words, reminding him that he is speaking to the head of the Nezan family. Ian sighs, commenting that this is exactly why he despises child marriages. Cedric addresses Ian as Your Highness, emphasizing the gravity of the situation. Ian acknowledges the urgency. He must find a mate and complete the marking as soon as possible. His immense and unstable power is too much for his body to handle, and to prevent another rampage he must share it through the marking. However, powerful families vying to produce the crown princess are closely monitoring the situation, further exhausting Ian. Cedric notices Zinder's unease and wonders if it is connected to the incident at dawn. This thought reminds Ian of Thiel. He opens his white dimension hole and pulls Thiel out, shocking Cedric. Doubting his own vision, Cedric removes his glasses, wipes them, and questions if he is dreaming. Meanwhile, Ian pats Thiel, asking if she is all right or frightened. Ian then informs Cedric that they are heading to the Estrian family next. Curious, Cedric inquires about their purpose there. Ian explains that they need to send the child to Aaron. Encouraging Thea to introduce herself, Ian watches as she transforms back into her human form. She introduces herself as Thiel Nezan and states that she is going to Aaron to meet her father. Cedric, puzzled, asks about her father. Ian directs him to look at Thiel's eyes. Upon noticing their golden hue, realization dawns on Cedric. Memories of the Black Panther and Snow Leopard lineage come to mind. He recalls how they defied family opposition to build a harmonious family. They had twin sons, but when Lena was pregnant with their third child, she mysteriously vanished. Soon after, the Nezan family reported Lena's death, and Astaron held a funeral despite never recovering her body. Unaware of the fate of the unborn child, Cedric panics upon realizing Thiel might be the daughter thought to have died. Ion orders the carriage to move at full speed, stating they have additional stops to make before reaching Aaron Castle. Upon arrival, the Asturian family's butler Parton greets them, offering the blessing of Sion upon Ian. Recognizing him as the crown prince, Parton bows. Ian immediately requests an audience with the head of the Aaron family. However, Parton informs him that the master is currently away and asks if the matter is urgent. Ian confirms that it is and insists on meeting him immediately. Cedric helps Thiel out of the carriage, and Parton is astonished to see her with them. Ian instructs Parton to inform the master that they believe they have found the youngest daughter of the Estrian family. As Thiel steps into the mansion, she is overwhelmed by its grandeur. It is twice the size of the Nezan estate. While she marvels at its magnificence, she feels uneasy. Living in a place like this seems unimaginable. She wonders if her father is as terrifying as she has been told, and worries whether she will even be able to meet his gaze. Cedric reassures her that she will receive a grand welcome in Astron. Ian agrees, though he laments that they could not prepare more for her arrival. Despite Ian's kind words, Phil cannot shake the feeling that the extravagant princess-like dress she wears is far too much for her. She is certain her father will despise her. Yet, the elegant carriage, the fine clothes, and the warmth she experienced along the journey, these are things she has never known before. They feel wonderful, and she wonders if she will ever see Ian again after today. Upon reaching the lounge, Ian encourages Thiel to sit. She insists she is fine standing, but Ian picks her up and places her down firmly, pointing out that everyone else is seated, and it would look strange for her to remain standing. My love, do you really think she enjoys standing? She's just not used to kindness, someone remarks. No, I'm not crying. You are. As she settles in, a maid enters with a trolley full of desserts. Theo's eyes light up with amusement. During the journey, she had refused to eat, only nibbling on the bread she brought from Nezan. Ian urges her to eat, assuring her that everything is for her. But she hesitates, fearing that accepting such generosity might make her seem shameless. Without waiting for her to decide, Ian picks up a piece of food and places it in her mouth. As she takes a bite, her face lights up with excitement. Ian laughs, asking if it's really that good. She nods eagerly, declaring it delicious. Suddenly, Karthus enters the lounge. Cedric is the first to greet him, while Theo freezes. She instantly knows this is her father. Anxiety grips her. What should she do? Should she read him first? Her grandfather's words echo in her mind. He had called Karthus a fool who did not know his place, a man without limits, utterly arrogant. Worse, he had told her that because she shares his blood, she must be just as pathetic as he is. His warning rings in her ears. If her father ever saw her, he would kill her. A shiver runs down her spine as Karth thus approaches, about to speak. But he stops. Thiel assumes he is angry. She debates whether she should beg for her life. However, recalling the kindness Ian and Cedric have shown her, she refuses to give up. She must act. After a moment of silence, Phil gathers her courage. She tells Karthus that her mother's name is Lena, and presents a necklace she secretly took from her grandfather's drawer. Karthus takes it, immediately recognizing it as Lena's. Thiel then pleads with him to let her stay. She promises to eat little, sleep in the barn or the warehouse, and live as if she does not exist anything, as long as she can stay. The words warehouse and barn make Karthus's eyes whiten in anger. What kind of life had this child been forced to endure? As he reaches for her, Thiel flinches instinctively, a clear sign of trauma. Karthus halts, visibly concerned. Finally he speaks, confirming her name, Thiel. Then, turning to the maid, he instructs her to take Thiel to a guest room, give her a warm blanket, and ensure she gets some rest. The maid bows, smiling warmly as she invites Thiel to follow her. Before leaving, Field glances back at her father, who stands in silence watching her. In the guest room, a deep sadness settles over her. Karthus had not explicitly said she could stay, leaving her uncertain about what to do next. With no money, she cannot take the carriage back, nor does she believe she could survive on her own. She looks down at the dress she is wearing, contemplating whether she should sell it. However, it was the first gift she had ever received from Ian, and the thought of parting with it pains her. A maid returns with snacks but immediately grows concerned upon seeing Thiel in tears. Another maid enters and, noticing her distress, asks if something is wrong and suggests taking Thiel back to her father. The first maid dismisses the idea, instead gently urging Thiel to eat, reminding her that food will give her strength while the guests are still in discussion. She encourages her to eat slowly and comfortably. Thiel stares at the food, knowing that if she is cast out of the mansion, she has no idea when she will have another warm meal. Realizing she should at least fill her stomach while she can, she decides to eat as much as possible. Meanwhile, Ian explains to Karthus that Theo had been on the run and was in a terrible state when they found her. She had been frightened but insisted on finding her father, a member of the Aaron family. Karthus listens in silence, but rather than blaming himself for failing to find her sooner, he wonders how she managed to survive in such a dire condition. Cedric adds that during the carriage ride, Gil kept glancing around nervously and refused to eat the meal they had prepared. Ian mentions that he noticed wounds on her body, and that the people of Nazan referred to her as a mad maid. Karthus, already forming his own suspicions, begins to piece things together. The history between the two Leopard tribe families, Nazan and Aaron, has always been fraught with tension. The tribe's leader is traditionally the one with the strongest abilities, and for 6 generations, that title has belonged to Aaron. Meanwhile, Nazan has gradually declined, now a mere shadow of its former self. Lena, born into the Nazan family, had been their only hope. Her extraordinary abilities even surpassed those of Ian. However, she refused to take on the role of family head, and instead chose to marry Karthus. Currently Cornelia, Nazan's next in line, lacks the power required to lead. It is clear that the next leader will likely come from Myron. To prevent this, Nazan may have hidden Lena's child, intending to raise her in the hope that she would inherit her mother's abilities, exploiting an innocent child for political gain. Suddenly, a maid bursts into the room, interrupting the discussion. She urgently states that something is wrong with the young lady. Karthus, alarmed, immediately turns to her. He rushes into the guest room to find food scattered across the floor. Thiel, sobbing in the maid's arms, repeatedly mutters apologies, saying she was wrong and that she made a mistake. Before anyone can react, she collapses completely into the maid's embrace. Karthus swiftly orders the maids to change her into comfortable clothes, ensure she gets rest, and summon the physician immediately. As the maids carry Thiel away, the edge of her boot grazes Karthus's hand. He stands frozen, surveying the disarray in the room, uncertain of what just happened. Turning to one of the maids, he demands an explanation. The maid explains that Thiel had eaten a small snack but vomited soon after, as if her stomach was unable to handle the sudden intake of food. Even while in the guest room, she had remained on edge, constantly looking around as if expecting something to happen. The maid wonders aloud what kind of life Thiel must have endured to leave her in such a state. Karthus turns to Cade, the Asterian family physician, and demands an update on Thiel's condition. Cade informs him that she is severely malnourished and her growth is significantly stunted compared to other children her age. He explains that young beastfolk often fall into sudden sleep when deprived of rest, reassuring Karthus that her current condition is not dangerous. She is simply exhausted. Karthus touches the blanket draped over her, feeling an unexpected wave of relief. Sitting beside her, he reflects with regret. He still has not told her that she can stay, that she can have whatever she needs, and that she no longer has to live in fear. This is her home now. He wishes he had said those words earlier. Cedric then inquires whether Karthus plans to conduct a paternity test, citing formal documentation requirements. Karthus nods, agreeing that they will need proof of paternity to officially register Thiel as a member of the Asterian family. Taking a small strand of her hair, he hands it to Cade and instructs him to have the test conducted at the temple, where his DNA records are already stored. Cade complies immediately. As Karthus watches over Thiel, he reflects on how he never lost hope in finding his child. That belief had driven him to leave his DNA at the temple, ensuring that if she ever surfaced he would be ready. Now more than ever, he is grateful that he never gave up. Karthus decides to leave, fearing they might wake someone. Cedric turns to Ian and suggests they head to the palace as their schedule is already delayed. Ian reluctantly agrees, regretting that he couldn't bid farewell to Thiel but vows to see her next time. Later, a man calls out to Karthus, demanding to know the whereabouts of the child. It is Elistophil, the Duke of Arian and leader of the Leopard clan, a man known for his unwavering dignity, and as a steadfast pillar of the empire. However, Alphys, typically composed, now stands before Karthus, visibly shaken and disheveled. Pardon reminds Alphys of his dinner appointment with the emperor, but he dismisses it, declaring that his granddaughter, whom he had believed dead, has returned. Alphys rushes toward Karthus, urgently asking where Thiel is and if he is certain she is Lena's child. Karthus informs him that a paternity test has been requested at the temple but affirms his certainty, noting that Thiel is a snow leopard with the golden eyes of the black panda. Hidden away in Nezon, she has now returned. Alphys insists on seeing her immediately, but Karthus tells him she is asleep in the room Olivia once used. He advises Alphys to observe her quietly before leaving. Alphys agrees. Approaching the sleeping Thiel, Alphys gazes at her tenderly. "Little one," he murmurs, love evident in his expression. He reflects on how he never even knew she existed until now, and how grateful he is to finally see her. When Alpha steps out, he turns to Karthus, demanding to know what happened, and why Nezin hid the child from them. Karthus explains that Nezin likely didn't want to let her go because she was Lena's child. He could tell she endured hardships there. He then recounts the story of how the prince found her and brought her back. Meanwhile, Phil dreams of voices mocking her, calling her worthless, shaming her for failing to manifest powers, and blaming her for her mother's death. She tries to escape the voices in her dream, pleading that she was wrong and begging them not to hate her. Just as a hand reaches out to grab her, she wakes abruptly, sweating and trembling. Blinking at the unfamiliar ceiling, she slowly recalls that she is now on Asterian territory. She marvels at how, despite her mistakes, she was allowed to sleep in such a comfortable bed. Could it mean she won't be cast out after all? Suddenly, she hears voices, curious yet uneasy. Following the sounds, she gets closer and overhears someone angrily declare that the brat needs to be killed immediately. The word "killed" freezes her in place, shock washing over her, as she realizes her grandfather was right. The maids were kind only because they didn't know who she truly was. But the family must hate her. Panic sets in. She knows if she doesn't escape, she will die that night. Transforming into her beast form, she waits until the household falls silent, certain everyone is asleep. Then she sneaks out and runs, determined to avoid death once again. Meanwhile, Karthus is alerted that Thiel is missing. A guard informs him they lost sight of her during a shift change. Chaos ensues as soldiers are mobilized to search for her. Karthus activates his firepower, instructing everyone to be extremely careful, so as not to frighten the child. He summons Salamander, ordering it to find Thiel, describing her as a snow leopard child with white hair and golden eyes. Clenching his fists, Karthus grits his teeth in frustration. Where could she have gone? He mutters, furious with himself for not acting sooner. He silently vows to speak with her properly once they find her. Salamander eventually locates Thiel in the basement, and informs Karthus. There, she is curled up and sobbing. Karthus takes a lamp and descends into the basement. In the corner, Thiel huddles, muttering to herself, begging for forgiveness, pleading with her grandfather not to kill her. She repeats that she will return to Nezan, saying he was right, and desperately begs someone to save her. Karthus calls out to her gently, urging her to come to him. But she continues muttering, apologizing for not having any special ability. He reassures her, telling her that she doesn't need to have any particular talent or skill. As long as she's with him, that's all that matters. Encouraging her once more, he reaches out. Finally, Thiel looks at him, her face stricken with fear. Covering her ears, she begs for forgiveness, promising to listen from now on. Karthus calls out again, but suddenly, golden energy radiates from her as she holds up her hands, pleading, even if it's something like this, please, still don't kill me. Karthus is stunned by the golden energy emanating from her. Before he can respond, Thiel collapses. Rushing to her side, he calls out to her. Later, back in her room, Thiel slowly opens her eyes. Karthus is sitting beside her, his expression one of relief and happiness. She is shocked to see him there. She never expected her father to stay by her side, considering he hates her. Confused, she wonders if she imagined his warm words. Was it a dream or a memory? She vaguely recalls a voice urging her to come here. Noticing that she is awake, Karthus apologizes for waking her, explaining that it's best to sort things out quickly so she can rest properly. He then introduces Cade, the Asturian family physician, who will be overseeing her health. Cade greets her warmly, inviting her to call him by his name. Still bewildered, Thiel questions why a physician is tending to her. She knows that only those who have been given the family name receive medical treatment. She even recalls how, in the past, no one treated her injuries, not even offering a cloth to clean her wounds. Speaking aloud, she asks if it's really okay for Kate to treat her, since she hasn't been given the family name. Karthus interrupts, asking her a single question, "What color are your eyes?" She answers, "Golden." Karthus explains that Thiel's golden eyes serve as proof that she is his daughter, and a member of the Aaron family. He reassures her that as long as she possesses those eyes, there is nothing she isn't allowed to do within the mansion. Hesitantly, Thea asks if this means she can stay there. Karthus confirms, telling her she no longer has to eat small portions, act as if she owns nothing, or sleep in the warehouse. Encouraging her to live happily and peacefully, he watches as she becomes overwhelmed with emotion and begins to cry, thanking him. Satisfied, Karthus instructs Cade to finish her treatment quickly, assuming he must be tired. Cade complies and begins his work. Later, Thiel eats her meal, trying to calm her nerves. She vividly recalls hearing a voice resembling her grandfather's, urging someone to kill her. Though the memory terrifies her, she clings to Karthus's reassurance that she is safe. A maid arrives with pudding, insisting she eat it after her soup. She explains that the chef specially prepared it in a frenzy to provide her with something comforting. Phil takes a bite and lights up with joy, exclaiming that she has never tasted anything so delicious. The maid is pleased by her reaction. Hesitantly, Phil asks the maid if she is truly allowed to stay in the mansion. The maid reassures her, saying she can eat plenty of delicious food, do the things she enjoys, and live a happy life. Nervously, Tyle asks if she can stay with the maid as well, having grown attached to her warmth and kindness. Deeply moved, the maid introduces herself as Rhea, and promises to take care of Thiel until she is assigned a personal maid. Thiel immediately grows concerned, asking if they will have to part when that happens. Smiling, Rhea reveals that she has already secretly applied to be Thiel's personal maid. Thrilled, Thiel feels a wave of relief as Rhea reassures her that she will always be by her side. For the first time, Thiel feels truly happy. Rhea informs Thiel that her new room will soon be ready, and the staff is decorating it beautifully for her. Amazed, Theo thinks that the room she is already in feels spacious and luxurious. She wonders if she is really deserving of such treatment. The scene shifts to Karthus in a discussion with Alphys. Alphys accuses Karthus of not letting him see Theo's face, expressing his deep concern. Karthus counters that Alphys has already seen her, but Alphys protests, pointing out that Karthus retrieved her from the basement and spoke with her, while he did not get the same opportunity. Setting aside Alphys's complaints, Karthus steers the conversation towards something more important. Curious, Alphys asks if it concerns Theo. Karthus confirms and reveals something shocking. Theo has manifested a special ability. Stunned, Alphys questions how such an ability could appear so late. Karthus acknowledges that it is unusual, but shares something even more astonishing. Theo's power is neither the Snow Leopard's ice abilities, nor the Black Leopard's flames. Instead, she possesses the power of light. In disbelief, Alphys demands to know if Karthus is certain, and if he witnessed it himself. Karthus affirms that he saw it with his own eyes. Struggling to process the revelation, Alphys begins to piece things together. If Theo truly has the power of light, then the ancient legend passed down and the Empire may not be just a myth. He recalls the prophecy, one who wields the power of light, a child blessed by the goddess Leet, will bring dawn to a land where morning never came, driving away darkness and maintaining the balance between light and shadow. Though this legend is so old that most no longer believe in it, Alphys cannot ignore what he has just heard. The possibility that such a power has manifested again, this time within Karthus's granddaughter, shakes him to his core. Alphys warns Karthus that if word of this spreads, both the imperial family and the temple will try to claim Theo for themselves. They will see her as the incarnation of the legend, a force capable of disrupting the Empire's balance of power. However, Karthus remains calm, assuring Alphys that no one will take Theo from them. Neither the imperial family nor the temple would dare act against the Astorian family. Alphys acknowledges this but admits something else is troubling him. He reminds Karthus of a hidden legend within their Leopard tribe, known only to the heads of the Nezan and Aaron families and their destined successors. According to this tale, alongside the Child of Light, the Asterian and Nezan families would regain their true powers, ushering in an era of glory. Pacing Alpha speculates that if the child truly possesses the power of light, she might even be able to lift the Aaron curse. However, Karthus immediately dismisses the idea. He declares that Theo is his youngest daughter, a child he has only just found again, and he has no intention of burdening her with such weighty matters. Alphys concedes, agreeing that Theo's well-being is the top priority for now. A week later, Karthus sits with Theo, and asks if there is anything she lacks or finds inconvenient. Shyly, she responds that there is nothing. He suggests she sit in the middle of the sofa but she insists she is fine. Undeterred, Karthus gently picks her up and places her in the center, asking if it feels better. Beaming, Theo responds that it is comfortable. Watching her, Karthus realizes how easily her guard lowers with just a small gesture of kindness. A thought strikes him, he could have made her happy with such simple things all along. Yet, those moments were stolen from her when she was taken away years ago. So many years of her life, which should have been filled with warmth and happiness, were lost. Setting his teacup down, Karthus asks Theo if she remembers the day she arrived and used her light power in the basement. Theo hesitantly admits she vaguely recalls it. Kar thus tells her that the power she used belongs to her alone. Shocked, Theo struggles to comprehend. How could it be hers? Karthus explains that her ability is a rare gift, one that brings morning to dark lands and drives away the world's darkness. He reveals that she is the most precious being in the Empire. Theo stares at him in disbelief. It does not feel real. Just days ago, she was nothing more than a useless half-breed, someone who could not even use basic powers. She struggles to believe she possesses something as extraordinary as a special ability. Yet she knows Karthus would not lie to her. In a hesitant tone, she asks if she can truly be of help to the Aaron family. Startled, Karthus sets his teacup down firmly and tells her she does not need to help the family. Even without doing anything, she is his daughter and a rightful member of the Aaron family. Hearing him call her his daughter makes Tyle burst into tears. She protests, saying that her grandfather always insisted that a child must contribute to the family. Karthus responds firmly, stating that if a family relies on a child's help, then it is a family that does not deserve to exist. Sitting beside her, he softens and reassures her that she is still a young child, and should not worry about such things. She should simply do whatever makes her happy.